It was 11:47 p.m. when my world ended. Or maybe that's when it should have ended, 2 years earlier. I was already in bed when I heard the kitchen chair scrape across the floor. That sound, small, ordinary, sent a cold wave through my chest. Mark never sat in the kitchen at midnight. He was a 6 a.m. man, early to bed, early to rise. 18 years together had taught me every sound he made. I told myself it was nothing. He'd probably just gotten up for water. Then I heard him say my name. Not loudly, not in anger, just quietly, like a question, like something inside him had already broken and he was just waiting for confirmation. Rachel? I walked into the kitchen and stopped in the doorway. Mark was sitting at the table. My phone was open in front of him, face up, under the yellow overhead light. His hands were flat on the table on either side of it, like he was holding himself back from throwing it across the room. I knew instantly. Earlier that evening, I had left my phone charging on the counter while I showered. I had forgotten, God, how had I forgotten, that I still had Marco's messages set to show full previews on the lock screen. I thought I'd turned that off months ago. I hadn't. While I was in the shower, a message came through. One message. That's all it took. Miss you already. Tonight was everything. M. Mark had picked up my phone to check the time. He told me that later. He just wanted to check the time. Now he looked at me from across the kitchen, our kitchen, the one we'd renovated together the summer after our 12th anniversary, and his eyes were red. Not wet, just red, like the blood had rushed to them and stayed. How long? He said. The refrigerator hummed. The clock above the stove read 11:47. I thought about the framed photo on the wall behind him. Our wedding day, Cape Cod, August. I was 26, he was 28. We looked so young, it almost didn't seem real. Mark, how long, Rachel? I opened my mouth, closed it. He already knew it wasn't a stranger. He'd seen the initial, M. And Mark was smart. He had always been the smarter one. And I watched the moment it hit him. His jaw shifted. His eyes moved off my face and down to the floor. Marco, he said. It wasn't even a question. Marco, his best friend since college, the best man at our wedding, the person who had sat at this same kitchen table hundreds of times, drinking Mark's coffee and laughing at Mark's jokes and looking me in the eye without flinching. For 2 years. Yes, I whispered. The word came out before I could stop it, before I could lie one more time. Maybe I was too tired. Maybe some part of me, the part that still remembered who I used to be, was relieved. Mark stood up slowly. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't throw anything. He just stood, picked up his keys from the hook by the door, the hook we'd installed together the first week we moved in, and walked out. The door didn't even slam. That was worse. I stood alone in the kitchen, in the house we had built our whole lives inside of, and I finally understood what it meant to lose everything. Not in one loud moment, but in the quiet click of a door that used to always open back up. People always want a clean reason, a villain, a single bad night. The truth is messier than that. It started at a work conference in Phoenix, October, 2.5 years ago. Mark couldn't come. He had a project deadline, the kind that kept him at his desk until midnight every night that month. I understood. I always understood. That was part of the problem. Marco was there for the same conference. We worked in overlapping industries. Enough to end up at the same dinners, the same panels. We'd known each other for 15 years by then. He was safe, familiar. I never thought twice about getting dinner with him alone on the second night. But Mark called to say goodnight, and the call lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes. And when I hung up, Marco was still sitting across from me, looking at me the way Mark used to, fully, like I was the most interesting person in the room. And something in me cracked open that I hadn't even known was closed. Nothing happened that night. I want to be clear about that. But something shifted. Some door inside me swung open, and I was too lonely and too weak to push it shut. The loneliness had been building for years. Not because Mark was a bad husband. He wasn't. He remembered my birthday, fixed things around the house, said I love you before bed. But somewhere around year 12, we had stopped really talking. We talked at each other, about bills, about whose turn it was to call the plumber, about nothing that mattered. Marco noticed the things Mark had stopped noticing. He asked about my work, my ideas, my fears. He remembered the small things I said. And I told myself it was harmless. He was Mark's best friend, for God's sake. Right up until the moment it wasn't. The first time it became something more was 3 weeks after Phoenix. Marco came over to drop off tickets for a game, a gift for Mark, who wasn't home yet. We had one glass of wine, then another. And I told myself the whole time that I was going to stop, that I would stop. I didn't stop. After that, the double life built itself almost on its own. Marco and I learned to be careful with the discipline of people who are afraid of getting caught. We never called, only texted, on an app that deleted messages every 24 hours. We never met anywhere we could be recognized. I told Mark I was working late on the nights I wasn't. I told him the gym, the office, a dinner with a colleague from marketing named Jen who didn't exist. The lies came easily after a while. That scared me more than anything. And the guilt. The guilt was always there. Every morning I woke up next to Mark and watched him sleep. I felt it sitting on my chest like a stone. Every time he said, "I trust you completely, you know that," which he said because he did, because he was that kind of man. I felt the betrayal move through me like something physical, like I had swallowed something sharp. I told myself different things at different times. I told myself it was filling a gap Mark had left. I told myself it would end soon, that I just needed a little more time. I told myself that as long as Mark didn't know, no one was really getting hurt. That last one was the biggest lie of all. I grew up in a family where loyalty was everything. My mother used to say, "Family is everything, Rachel. You protect your people." She said it at every holiday table, every Sunday dinner. I believed her. I built my whole identity around believing her. And then I spent 2 years doing the one thing that destroyed it. The worst part, the part I've never said out loud until now, is that I wasn't even sure I loved Marco. Not the way a person should feel when they're burning their life down. What I was addicted to wasn't him exactly. It was the secret. The version of myself that existed only in those stolen hours, who felt wanted and awake and seen. I had forgotten, somewhere along the way, how to feel those things inside my real life. So I built a second one, and I kept building it, brick by brick, lie by lie, until the night Mark ticked up my phone just to check the time, and the whole thing finally fell. He came back the next morning. I almost wished he hadn't. He came back at 7 a.m. I had not slept. I was still sitting at the kitchen table when I heard his key in the door, the same sound I had heard 10,000 times in 18 years, now the most frightening sound I knew. Mark looked like he hadn't slept either. He sat down across from me, same chair as the night before, and set his keys on the table between us. He didn't look angry. He looked like a man who had been hollowed out. "I need you to explain it to me," he said. "Not why you did it. I think I understand that. I need you to explain how you sat across from me every single morning, how you looked me in the eye." I didn't have a good answer. There isn't one. "I'm so sorry, Mark." My voice broke on his name. "I know that doesn't fix anything. I know sorry isn't enough, but I need you to know. I need you to hear me say that I love you. I never stopped loving you." He was quiet for a long moment. "That's the part that's hardest to understand," he said, "because I believed you. Every time you said it, I believed you completely. I thought we were solid. I thought we were the couple that was going to make it." He paused. "I bragged about you, Rachel, to my coworkers. I used to say, my wife is my best friend. Do you understand what that feels like to say out loud now?" I put my face in my hands. "How do I make this go away?" I whispered. "Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix it, and I will do it. Anything." Mark was silent for so long I thought he might get up and leave again. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and careful, like he was choosing every word by hand. "You can't make it go away, Rachel. That's not how this works. You don't get to decide when I'm healed. You don't get to put a timeline on my pain because it's inconvenient for you." He looked up at me. 18 years I gave you. 18 years of my life, and I never once, not one single time, made you feel like you weren't enough. Did I? "No," I said. "You didn't. That was me. That was my failure, not yours." "And Marco." He said the name like it cost him something physical. "My best friend since I was 22 years old. My best man. The person I called when my father died." His jaw tightened. "That's not just a betrayal, Rachel. That's a demolition." I had no words left. There are no words for that kind of damage. We sat in silence for a long time. The morning light came through the kitchen window the way it always had, soft and yellow across the table, and for one strange second it felt like any other morning. Then the weight of everything came back and pressed down hard. "I'm not walking out," Mark finally said. "But I'm not staying either. Not yet. I need time. I need space to figure out if there's anything left of us worth saving." He stood up slowly. "And you need to figure out who you actually are. Because the woman I married, I don't think she would have done this." He picked up his keys. This time, he didn't leave. He just went upstairs. The distance between us, even inside the same house, felt like miles. We started counseling 2 weeks later. It has been 8 months. There are days when I see something soften in his eyes and I think, maybe. There are days when he goes completely quiet and I know he is back in that kitchen looking at my phone, and I have no right to ask him to hurry. I used to think that love was the most important thing in a marriage. I know better now. Love without trust is just a feeling. Trust is the structure, the walls, the floor, the roof. It takes years to build it, room by room, choice by choice, Ordinary Tuesday by Ordinary Tuesday. And it took me one night of carelessness, one forgotten setting on a phone, one message that said tonight was everything, to bring all of it down. I am still living in the wreckage. I am still learning what it means to rebuild, not just a marriage, but myself. And I know now, in a way I cannot unknow, that the most dangerous lie is not the one you tell your husband. It's the one you tell yourself, that you can have everything, hurt no one, and never get caught. Nobody gets away with it forever. The truth always finds a way through. Thanks for listening to my story. If you liked it, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and tell me where you're listening from.